have 50 states. They have a whatever driver must know. So, for instance, in Hawaii, they may say if you see lava coming onto the highway, go the opposite way. Why? Because Hawaii has volcanoes. Okay. And what I need to know, if you move to a different state and you stay there for any amount of time, you're going to have to take that state's driving test. If we move to Kentucky and you stay there past a certain amount of time, if you want to drive, you're going to have to take their test. If you move to Tennessee, so every state has a whatever driver must know. So I'm going to go ahead and roll in your questions and go over this. So put in some real questions, okay, if you really want to learn, right? So I'm going to go over one thing and answer one question. Who needs a driver's license? Anyone who's a resident of the state, okay? A person who wants to drive a public vehicle on the road. Now, you could be, let's say we live in Texas and you move to Florida. You can drive for a while on your Texas license plate, your Texas license in Florida, but then you get a job there and you take up residence there. When your license expires, you're going to have to take that test in that state, okay? I'm going to answer one question. What should I do if the temperature light comes in while driving? You want to turn on your heat. You turn on your heat. That's going to get all of the hot air out of the engine, because when you turn on the heat, there's a fan that blows on the heater core. Okay, I don't know how mechanically inclined you are. The heater core has coolant. Your engine is water cooled. So if your car overheats, you can turn on the heater full blast. That will get the temperature down. But if the temperature stays high, you need to pull over, because you are about to blow up your engine and have thousands and thousands of dollars in repair costs. So you really have to pay attention to the gauges, and a lot of people don't. I'm more in tune to cars because I drag race, I build motors. The biggest thing for me is oil pressure. When I turn on the motor and I'm getting ready to make a pass down the quarter, do I have oil pressure? Typically, we want the motor cold, okay? Because cold engines make more power, okay? So I'll read one question. How many driver's license are you allowed to have? You're just allowed to have one. Now, we live in a day of age, people can have fake identities, right? You could have 10 identities, you're running different scams, but legally, you're only allowed to have one license, okay? So let's pretend you live in Illinois and you lost your license. You go to Ohio and get a license and then go back. Well, that may work temporarily, but eventually you could get pulled over. So you don't want to have another state's driver's license and you live in a state and your license is locked down, okay? If you are 18 years old, how many pieces of identification do you need for a license? You need 5 pieces of identification for a license. What do I do if my wipers aren't working very well and it's pouring raining? Don't drive. Because if you can't see, then you can't drive because your wipers aren't working. And it seems like really simple. If you can't see, you should not be driving, because vision is the most important thing. And it's really important that you understand that you need your headlights to see. If it's night, you got to have headlights. If it's raining and your wipers don't work very well, then you can't see and therefore you can't drive. Now, you might be able to pull to a gas station, convenience store. They may have generic wipers that fit all cars, but usually you have warnings when your wipers are getting bad. The water streaks. They don't clean the water really well. So the wipers just don't stop working. It happens over time. So if it's raining really hard and you can't see, you're going to have to pull over because you're going to crash. You're going to run into someone. How many tests are required to pass in order to get your level 1 license? List them. Well, we're going to list them. First, there are 3. You got to take a written test. At this level, no matter what state you're in, you're going to take a written test. It tests your knowledge. Do you understand right of way, 4-way crossings, roundabout? Okay. Next, you're going to have a vision test. You will go to Secretary of State. You will look into a machine. They're going to test your vision. If you wear glasses, then you have to wear them. On your temporary permit or license, it's going to say corrective lenses. Okay? And then the physical standards. Let's pretend some of you have seizures, or you have low blood pressure and you could pass out in the car, or you're born with some type of medical condition. If you can't pass the physical standards test, you won't drive. Okay? So, because that's for your safety and a general public safety. Okay? Keeping those questions in, I'm going to go through. So first we had a question about wipers. If your wipers aren't working really well, you can't see, you can't drive, you'll crash. We had a question about a temperature light. I told you to turn on the heat high in the car. That's going to hopefully drop that temperature down. But usually you have indicators. Maybe your car overheats momentarily. You should check your coolant, because that's maintenance. Cars just don't overheat. If you see a puddle of antifreeze or water on the ground where your car's parked all night, that tells you maybe you have a leaking hose, maybe you have a head gasket problem. So those things just don't happen. If you have an older car that has been sitting 3, 4, 5 years, maybe the hoses have dry rotted, the tires have dry, the moisture comes out, the tires are very brittle, and then eventually they'll crack. That's what happens to hoses, fan belts, alternator belts on cars. They don't last forever. How many driver's education classes have you done? Let's say typically I do 8 a year. So you multiply 8 times 20 years. There's your math. Okay? But remember, I've done adults, I've done teens, I've done in person, I've done online. Okay? So that's the kind of a quick number. Let's keep going. How many years have you done this? 20. That gives you information. And every year, new technology comes, self-driving cars, defensive driving, students with disabilities, opportunities for growth. So every 2 years, instructors take a professional development class to better themselves for the next. So my certification is good to 2027. Every 2 years, we take a professional development. We do a background check. We turn our paperwork into the state. We pay our fee, and then we get a driver's education endorsement that lasts 2 years. So every 2 years. School teachers, every 6 years, I believe, or 8 years, you have to redo your endorsement. It doesn't last forever. Same thing with principals. Okay. Same thing with doctors. You have to have professional development units because things change over time. Let's keep it going. Keep more questions coming in. We talked about the temperature light. You asked how many classes I've done. I do about 8 or 10 a year, and then 20 years. Okay, let's keep it going. Let's put more questions in. Who is required to take the road test? If you want to drive on roads in the United States, you have to take some type of test. This is the physical standards. You're going to take a knowledge test, and you have to take a test to see if you can park, you can drive, you can merge, you can actually keep the car in the lane. Yes, driver's ed cars, there are 2 sets of pedals, one on the passenger side and then, of course, on the driver's side. And we have dual mirrors. The driver's ed brake is either a cable. The driver's ed braking system is, they drill 4 holes into the floorboard. They use pot rivets. They rivet it in. And then there's the cable. When your instructor pushes the cable, it pulls a pulley that pulls down the brake. And that's how the car slows down. There are some cars that have pipes that do the same thing. Okay. Let me ask you a couple questions. I like the questions on maintenance. So yes. What is a restricted license? A restricted license. This includes minors who have demonstrated a hardship. This includes maybe people who have certain illnesses. also have failed to drive safely. You might have a restricted license. So you guys are on probation. So if you get a lot of tickets the first 90 days, you're going to get a letter from the state. They're going to call you in for a hearing. And then you probably might have to take driver's ed over. In Ohio and Florida, they're increasing the amount of hours young adults up to 21, they have to retake or add in additional safety classes. It could come to our state. How many hours do you need before you get your permit? You need 30 hours. We talked about that yesterday, 30 hours. Permit for our level 1, they have to have 6 hours of driving. You got to take the class. You got to pass the test, 4 hours of observation. That's when you'll get your permit. That's the first step. There is, we have steps. It's called a graduated license because your age group under 24 years old tends to die, tends to have a lot of motor vehicle crashes. So each state is their own governing body, and they're passing more laws because we want people to live longer. If I did a session with my friends, how long would it take us to drive? I don't understand your question, a session with your friends. You have to be I have to be a certified driving instructor. You can't just take a driver's ed session with a non-certified instructor. I have a license number with the state. I take a test, so I am certified. I went through training to do this. So a session with a friend, that doesn't make sense because your friends are not certified. So that's like having your friend give you heart surgery. That's like having your friend fix your toe because you got your leg broken. You want a person who's licensed and certified. All right, let's keep going. We talked about a restricted license. If you move within and live at different addresses, you need to go to Secretary of State and get your address changed. Okay? Every time you move, you need to go to Secretary of State. Where do I go to obtain my driver's license? You go to the Department of Motor Vehicles. This is the place that your parents know very well. If you get a car from a relative, you have to go there to get a license plate. You have to go to get the title put in your name. That shows ownership of the vehicle. So there's certain things you need to go to Secretary of State for. Usually they're automotive related. Keep putting the questions in. Had a question about maintenance. I like this question. How often should I schedule maintenance? Number one, it depends on how far you drive. It depends on where you drive. Let's pretend Grace lives on a dirt road. Let's pretend Marshall lives in the city. Let's pretend Landon lives in the country. Each of you drive in different environments. In the city, it's stop and go traffic. You might have to get oil changes more frequently. If you live in a country road, you might have dirt in the air. You might not drive as much. It really depends on how much you drive, where you drive. Are you driving short trips back and forth to school, back and forth home? Are you driving long trips, 3 or 4 or 5 hours? Do you drive really hard, really fast, pushing the car really hard? Are you driving smooth and easy, letting the car get up to temperature? Everyone drives differently. Some of the signs that you need it, your car makes a grinding sound when you're trying to stop. You need brakes. Your windshield wipers smear instead of cleaning the water off the window. Your headlights start to dim. The bulbs are getting old. Your car makes a whining noise because your alternator belt or your serpentine belt is getting old. Occasionally, you should open the hood up, take a look inside, and it's really important that you learn about your car. But if your parents aren't mechanically inclined and you aren't mechanically inclined, you won't ever change the oil. You won't ever change the air filter. You won't ever put antifreeze in or windshield washer solvent. A lot of you will have a shock in the wintertime because you're going to use windshield washer solvent and then it's going to be empty. And then you're going to have a light on your dashboard. And for some of you, the first time opening your car will be in the wintertime when you need windshield washer solvent. I have some over here. I'll show it to you. This is windshield washer solvent. Some of you will never see this until the wintertime. Okay? This solvent is toxic. If a pet drinks it, they will die. But some of you will never see this because you don't do maintenance. We live in a cold weather climate. You should have a gallon of this in your trunk, because if you don't have washer solvent, you won't be able to see on your window when it's salt and sleet. So, and then of course, if your windshield wiper blades get bad and crack, so you will find out this winter what you will do and when you're ready. So put in some more questions. So let's keep it going. I like the questions. I was able to show you windshield washer solvent. Okay, so students under 14.8 are allowed to take driver's ed, true or false? And that is false. You have to be 14.9. Every state has different rules. In New York, you have to be 18 to get your full license. Okay, so 18. Every state is different, and that's the way it should be. Next, why is it necessary to take along with you to get your license? You got to take your birth certificate. You've got to take state ID, a passport, social security card, 2 pieces of proof of residency, driver's education certificate, and your parent or guardian. Okay, you can't just go there by yourself and say, hey bro, I want my permit. Hey bro, go back home. Who is your guardian? Where's your birth certificate? Where's your social security card? And most teens don't have those things. Those are documents. And if someone gets your document, they can take on your identity. How long? Okay, let's keep going. Got some more questions coming in. And after I'm done with this, you guys are going to have a quizzy and we're going to rule forward. We talked about how many hours. What do I have to worry about owning an electric car? Range. The biggest thing is range. Our infrastructure system is not there yet. I like the question, Camden. That's awesome. Electric cars are here to stay. You want to make sure one of my students does own an electric car. Plug it up every night. If you have a regular 110, it's going to take longer. You really want to have a level 2 plug, like the electric dryer plug. Okay, it's called a Neiman plug, the 3-prong plug. You charge it up, and more young adults and kids are getting electric cars. So range, make sure you charge it up. They pretty much take care of themselves. Good question. Let's keep going here. Okay, so at what age is it legal to drive in the state? 14.9, 14.8 with the driving instructor, me. 14.9 with the parent or level 1 license. 16 with the level 2, 17 with the level 3. So the more experience you get, the more freedom you have. Let's keep it rolling. Let's look at some more questions. What are some of the things you would say are good and important you think you should have in your trunk? An emergency kit. You want to have jumper cables. You want to have basic hand tools. You want to have some gloves. You want to have some shoes, a hoodie. If it's in the summertime, you need to have gloves to work in the car if it's hot. If it's cold in the wintertime, you want to have gloves and a hoodie, some clothes in case you get stranded. Okay, but a lot of parents are not mechanically inclined. No cap, no hate, but you should have an emergency kit. Your car will break down. So you got to be ready for those things that happen. Always want to be prepared. Good question. I could tell you're thinking. Let's keep it going. When I receive my level 1 learner's license, with whom may I drive? Someone over 21 years old. The state has picked 21 as a number. It takes 10 years to learn how to drive. Put in how old you are in the chat, please. Put in how old you are in the chat so we can just do an experiment. Okay. Is it bad to turn the steering wheel while the car isn't moving? The answer is, Xander, yes and no. It's called dry steering. Yes, it's bad because if the car's not moving, you're going to dry steer, and that means the car isn't moving, and you're going to ruin the tread on the front tires. The good thing is, if the car's not moving, and maybe you're learning how to steer the wheel. So I like the question. So I gave you both. It's good and bad. Let's keep it going. Question, what should I do if my car won't start on a cold morning? You need to check the battery. If your headlights come on and the car doesn't crank, maybe you left the light on all night. If your car doesn't start, and it's going to happen this winter, if you have a car that's 5 years old, 7 years old, cold and heat are very hard on batteries. So you should get that battery replaced. And it's really important to get it replaced about every 5 or 7 years, because over time batteries do wear down. Okay. So if your car doesn't start, you might have to get a jump. You have jumper cables, red to red, black to black. The car that is giving you a boost, that should not be touching. So you'll learn that too. That's good. And we'll go through that. I like the question. So we're starting. So Barry 16. So at 10 years, 26. Marshall's 15, 10 years, 25. Xander, 15, 10 years. So it takes about 10 years to become a master at driving. Okay. The first couple of years, you don't know everything. You haven't learned everything. The next 4 or 5 years, you're more consistent. You know, when it gets cold, you need to have gas in the car, not run it down to empty. You need to have windshield washer solvent in your trunk. You don't wait till it's empty. You maybe have an extra pair of windshield wiper blades. You have gloves, but a lot of you just wear your hoodie. That's your best friend. But you're going to freeze. Well, I got my hoodie. Well, you're going to freeze. Then in the summertime, you're going to get hot and you're going to overheat. So you have to learn to have different clothes besides a hoodie. So there's kind of a grown-up process that you guys to go through. Let's keep going here. We talked about practicing, preparing. Once the level 1 learner has been issued, you must practice at least how many days before taking the road test? Is kind of a trick question. It's 180 days. Okay. You get your level 1, level 2 license when you get that. We have passed the level 2 test. You passed the road test, and you're 16. Remember, every state has different rules about the road test. Next, original operator's license are placed on probation. Somebody had questions about probation. You're on probation for 3 years. So let's pretend Landon, use him as an example, he gets a couple speeding tickets. Well, Landon, that's going to stay on your driver record 3 years. The insurance, your parents won't be happy because you're probably still going to be living at home till you go to college. Your parents' insurance will go up about 30%. Insurance for younger drivers is more expensive. Why? You have more accidents. You drive more miles. You tend to speed more. So you got to really be careful and you don't want to get any tickets. So all of you are on probation for 3 years. There are other types of licenses, list 2. Chauffeur's license and commercial license. Let's go for some questions. What do you do if you run out of battery when driving an electric car? Your car will stop, obviously. You can call companies to boost your battery. That's a emerging market. They know more and more electric cars are out here. And in the wintertime, the range goes down because as the temperature goes down, you may have 200 miles of range. It's now 150. You forgot to charge it. You're like, I'm just going to school. I'm going to work. You thought you had 100 miles range. It's really 50. So this is common. And as electric cars become more common, automotive manufacturers are developing better batteries. So if your car stops, you're going to get a ticket because your car stopped. You have to get it towed home. That costs money. It's not free. It could be $50, $75, or $100. Or you call a company, they'll come out, they'll boost your battery, charge it up, but it could be $75, $150, or $200. So I like that we're asking electric vehicle questions because they are here and you will be driving them. And I have driven them before too. So it's really important. I like the questions. Let's keep going. Keep asking those questions. Okay, so can you legally drive a motorcycle with a regular license? No, you have to have a motorcycle endorsement. And that's a test you'll have to take. You'll have to be a certain age. If you lose your license, what should you do? You want to go to Secretary of State immediately. You have to have an operator's license because if you get pulled over, you'll be driving without an operator's license. That is a ticket. So you're going to have to make time out of your busy day. You might be able to walk into the Secretary of State. You might be able to make an appointment on your phone. But if you lost your license and you have to drive to get there, so you're going to have to make a decision, or maybe someone will take you. How do you renew your driver's license? You can renew it by mail. You can go in person to the Secretary of State and take a test. It depends on what you want to do. You don't want to drive and let your license expire. Renew means you go in and take your test. Go take your test by mail or online before it expires. Put in more questions because we're going to be doing a quiz in a moment. Put in your questions. You ask, how long have I been teaching? 20 years. I do about 8 classes a year, anywhere from 10 to 20 kids. When I was doing in person, we would have a class of 36. I would drive 26. My backup driver would drive 10. Okay? Do you trust those self-driving cars? The answer is yes. As technology gets better, they will get better. But remember, there are always, maybe the sensors could get dirty. Maybe there's dirt on one element of the computer. So you've seen the videos on social media, people driving across the country, don't touch the steering wheel. They lock it in, they go get charged. So over time, they will get better. And this is something that is here to stay. And every state is preparing for this. Is it safe to drive a car that is over 15 years old? The answer is, do you know that car? Is it your dad's car? Is it your uncle's car? Is it your grandma's car? The answer is yes and no. It's no because if it's been sitting 3, 4, 5 years, you're going to need new tires, maintenance item. You're going to need new belts and hoses. You're going to need a new battery. Fresh oil change, make sure there's no critters that hide in the car, birds, different animals, rodents, they like to hide in there and burrow. You're going to have to drop the gas tank because the oil breaks down over time and it clogs the gas filter and gas line. But if you do those maintenance items and you take care of your car and you don't mind working on the car, you're going to have a great car. So the question is to you, do you not mind working on cars? And some people love it because you get a chance to, I built this car. I put those tires on. I put those wipers on. I put a battery in. And I know my car. And if it breaks down, I can fix it. Some of you are like, man, that car is too old. I really like it, but it's too old. I'm going to get one that's newer. It really depends on you. If your parents love working on cars, you're going to go build it together. And that's the time for you and your mom or dad or family to bond. So it depends. How far can an electric vehicle typically drive on a single charge? You know this, Marshall. It could be 150 miles. It can be 200 miles. Typically, the range is anywhere from 150 to maybe about 230 miles. You've seen commercials. You should start thinking about cars. I like it because you guys are thinking about those electric vehicles. And some of your parents have Teslas. Some of your parents have electric cars. I've seen parents during driver's ed, they come up in an electric car and I talk to them a couple of minutes. So it's becoming more common. So it depends on how far you drive, how fast you drive. Do you have the heat on? Do you have the AC on? There are things you can do to increase your range. Do you have the right air pressure in your tires? Okay, are you racing everyone, every single light because of the instant torque? Or are you stepping on the electric pedal easily? So it depends on how you drive. But it's nice to hear and see those questions. So it depends on how you drive. Just like a gasoline car. If you're trying to race everyone, your car is going to drink gas and then you're going to wear out your brakes. So good questions. I like that. Let's keep that coming. So if stopped by the police for any reason, what must I present? Your license or your permit, proof of insurance, and registration for the car. Those are the documents that the officer wants to see, needs to see. Let's keep going. Probably as long as it's in good condition. Good condition varies. Some people say, well, the tires are bad. I'll put new tires on. That's a couple $100. Other people would say it's got a lot of scratches and dings in it. It's got some curb rash. Well, I'll fix that. Other people will say it's not in really good shape. The interior looks bad. So it depends on how hard you want to work. You can get a really good deal or a bad deal. So you should bring someone with you who knows about cars. Okay. We have something called the point system here in our state. Okay. How many points do you, for a violation, you get points. And they're still in your record for 7 years. Points due. So you want to be mindful of that. That can really drive up your insurance rates. And you might want to work for Uber or Lyft, but you have to be 21. You got to have insurance. You got to have your car fully insured. And that's a thing a lot of people want to do. Number 24. I like the questions. We're almost done here. list 6 of the, I need you to type in. You're going to type in list 4 of the 6-point violations. Type it in. List 4 of the 6-point violations. Go ahead and do that for me. How long is it until you replace your tires? It depends on how hard you drive. Your front tires do a lot of turning. When you make a right or left turn, your front tires wear more. Your rear tires are either pushing the car, okay? So if you drive really fast and turn really hard, you're really going to wear out the treads of the tires. Some tires have soft compounds, sports cars, Corvettes, Mustangs, the Camaros. They have really soft compound tires. They're not really built for winter. Most people don't ride Corvettes in the winter or Camaros or Mustangs because they're not built for that. Most people have SUVs. So tires can last 30,000 miles, 60,000, 80,000. You have to make sure they're properly inflated. You need to rotate your tires front and back. So there's a lot more things involved, and I'm glad you're asking. So it depends on how you drive. Is your car sitting a long time for a couple of months? Eventually, if it's in the sunlight, the tires will dry rot because that sun is just shining on them day after day after day. Then in the wintertime, the temperature freezes, and then you have cracks that develop in the tires. And if your tires are over 5 or 6 years old, the date of manufacturing is on the tire. So you should be able to look on the tire, and it will tell you when these tires were manufactured, okay? What's a good amount of miles for a used car? It could be 50,000. It could be 70,000. It could be 100,000. It depends on what you feel comfortable with, what your parent feels comfortable with, what your mechanic feels comfortable with. So I like that you're asking these questions. Most cars today here in the United States, 100,000+ miles. If they're taken care of, did the person do oil changes? Did they do routine maintenance? People who want to sell cars usually have all the receipts of maintenance, and you can be assured, hey, I took care of my car. It was under warranty. The transmission failed. We got it replaced. I replaced the hose and belts at 80,000. All cars have an owner's manual, and they tell you when to replace those things. But a lot of people lease cars today, and after 2 years or 3 years, they turn it back into the manufacturer, and you get a new car. It costs more money, but you get a new car every 3 years, 5 years. So it just depends. So I asked you to put in 4 of the 6-point violations. What is the difference between reckless driving and careless driving? The speed, okay? Reckless is a higher speed. You're going to get more points. Careless driving, a lesser offense. So it all looks at what you do. If you're speeding 100 over the limit, that's reckless driving. You guys are smart. You know that. If you're going 5 over, that's careless driving. I have an SRT Trailblazer, an SRT Grand Cherokee. That's what I have right now. Drinks a lot of gas. All-wheel drive, high maintenance vehicle. If you drive backwards, does the mileage go down? The odometer does tend to go backwards, but you can't keep doing that for a long period of time. Operator, well, okay. Neglected, negligent homicide, reckless driving, giving false ID, manslaughter, yes. Okay, let's go over this. List 4 to 6-point violations: reckless driving, manslaughter, fleeing and eluding the police, failing to yield for an accident or injury. Next, list 3 of the 4-point violations: drag racing, impaired driving, 16 over the limit. You just asked the question, 16 over the limit. Failure to yield, moving violations resulting fault collision. List 3 of the 3-point violations: careless driving, disobey traffic sign or signal, you blow a stop sign. 11 through 15 over the limit, failure to stop. Type in what you learned. Type in what you learned. All of you type in what you learned. I'm just a regular OG like you, And, we're talking about driver's education. Go ahead and put your questions in. We're keeping it real today. I love the comments. They're really funny, but I have a good sense of humor. And, the economy's changing all the time. It doesn't stay stagnant. A lot of people are losing jobs, right? So you have to create your own source of income, your own source of revenue. Like, I have these nice fun glasses on, but I'm an educator, and we can all laugh and we can have a good sense. So I ask you to type in what you learned. A lot of you saying the same thing. Point violations. It's better to work on your car and understand it. Yes, Noah, you should work on your car. Start off by changing windshield wiper blades, right? They simply unhook and hook on. But in the wintertime, your hands are going to be so cold because you didn't listen to your instructor. You didn't buy gloves. You don't have a hat on. You have your hoodie on. Your nose is running. And you have to change your wiper blades. You're like, I should have listened to him. You didn't listen. Wiper blades don't cost that much, $5, $10, $20. But your debit card doesn't work because you didn't pay your bill and it got shut off. And you're almost out of gas. So then you're stuck and you have to walk because your parents are not going to pick you up. I'm just giving you an imaginary situation. So you should understand your car. And a lot of public schools do have a automotive shop class. You need to go ahead and take it. You learned about 4-point violations, how to keep your car, learned about the point system. Different states have different rules and guidelines. They do. You got to fix your car. You got to learn about it. You got to read about it. I learned to keep your trunk. Yeah, because your car will break down. You may have a flat tire and you got to know how to change it. AAA is the national organization. Your parents can pay $50 or $100. You can get basic free towing. If your car breaks down, they'll tow it to a shop. You might have a no-start condition. They'll boost. In the wintertime, AAA service costs go up because cars don't start. Now, I don't know if AAA has a service for electric vehicles, but if there's a big enough call, they might invest in that because electric vehicles are here to stay. And just being prepared, getting out there on the road. I think that's the biggest thing for all of you. Let me finish up the rest of these. How can you recognize the driver is under the influence? They're driving all over the road. PBT stands for preliminary breath test. Got a question coming in. Why do they stop teaching us turn signals for emergency stops? I don't understand your question, Xander. Can you explain further? Xander, go ahead and explain this.
The turn signals, like with your arms, that you would like stick out the window. So like if your bulbs go out in the city, like that kind of thing.
Okay, I like what you said. And of course, you got a vintage motorcycle that your uncle gave you. It is in whatever driver must know. It is in, I believe, the teaching binder. So let's pretend Xander got his car started, but his battery's really low. He's driving with his fog lights on, but not headlights. You can stick your arm out. This means a right turn. Out means a left. You should know those signals. You should know those things. And I like that Xander is thinking, Xander, like that. You got to know those emergency things because occasionally your car will break down in the city, in the suburbs, out in the country. You went to the apple orchard, but then your car doesn't start. And you're like, oh my God, and my phone doesn't work. You got to be prepared. You got to have a plan A, B, or C. We're talking about driver's education. Put in some questions. Okay. And I'm going to call in other people right now. Subscribe to the channel. Bye.